Our ongoing project having to do with associative remote viewing that was mentioned earlier this morning. And that project involves the internet. Our participants are able to do their getting of the targets, their remote viewing at home. They're able to get their feedback at home. So it's a rather comfortable environment to do their work. All of you will be invited to participate. You can experiment. There are photo targets there. You'll be able to get your feedback. The computer will save the information for you. You'll be able to see how well you're doing. And so what I'm going to do today is explain what we do, how you get on. We have 4 computers over there that'll simulate the internet. It's a local area network only, but this permits us to allow you to actually do a whole associative remote viewing series from beginning to end within one day. We are in fact doing this with the stock market and making real investments. And I will give you information on that. I'll give you a summary on our progress to date. Our participants are actually paid consulting fees as part of the project. And we are looking for ultimately talented viewers who are anxious to participate in this kind of program. As was actually said earlier, it's not clear until you've actually worked at remote viewing on whether or not you are talented. And this will give you an opportunity to do that. Okay, now, as I said, this is a workshop. Those computers will be set up someplace. I'm not sure if it'll be in the back of the room or in a breakout room. So you will be able to participate somewhat today, but also for the next 2 days. Now, when we talk about remote viewing, that's a rather remarkable capability, as I think you know. The ability to gather information, in particular from the future with associative remote viewing. You have to say that's kind of remarkable. But it's also, when you start thinking about it, it's very easy to get really deep and philosophical. So I want you to see here that what our real focus is not on the philosophy, but on applications. And that's what associative remote viewing is really all about. It's about a very, very practical application, in fact, being applied to the stock market. And what I'm going to show you is what, if you're a participant, you would actually do. This is something which you would do in your life to participate. You have to do your remote viewing, etc. So let's begin now, and let's see if we can really understand what associative remote viewing with the stock market is all about. Now, this is precognition with photo targets. Okay, I tried to get the essence of this on one slide, a little piece at a time. Now, the key thing to understand when you're doing remote viewing is there is one target. You get a target ID number. In this case, we use six-digit numbers, XXXXX, and that is given to you at the beginning of the session. And yet, associative remote viewing, the way we do it now, is with 2 options. So there's 2 choices. So it's critical to understand what's going on there. The fact is, let's just say that stock ABC moves up between 2 specified period. If that, in fact, happens, this is your target. That is the target. There is no other target if, in fact, that's what the stock did. On the other hand, if, in fact, the stock were to move down, this might be your target. And we choose pairs of targets which are as dissimilar as possible, because when you do your remote viewing session, and in fact did one earlier today, where you wrote down keywords and maybe did a different sketch, you would be able to distinguish this. But the target, your target, is one or the other of those based on what happens in the future. Now, notice the stock disappeared. From the standpoint of your associative remote viewing, you really ignore all of that, because your tasking is to stay keyed into the photograph that you're going to see in the future. This is the tasking that we use in our current approach. And this approach, by the way, is called Protocol 5, which tells you that we've had a rocky road to get here. Okay? The ARV tasking is to move to the photo target feedback session. You are going to have a session when you see one or the other of those targets. So you move your consciousness to that point in time, and then you describe the features of that photo, which will distinguish it from the other, which will allow a correct decision by your judge. And that's very important, because at some point in time, someone's going to have to say, we believe it's target choice number 1 or target choice number 2. Now, what is it that you do with your transcript? This would be very nice if you could have a transcript like this, like the transcripts you did. It would make life for the judge very easy. Organic, white, animal, multiple, cute, rectangular, hard. I think it's rather clear that you would choose choice 1. So that's what the real essence of making a prediction is. The RVer generates the transcript based on what his consciousness sees at feedback time. A judge then, based on the RV summary, which is put on the internet, would then choose choice 1 and choice 2. The judge would see those two. And we permit both self-judging, which in fact is what you're doing with the Russell-Targ experiment. You're looking at all 4, or independent judging. Okay, now, what we're doing now is called Protocol 5. We've discussed the 2 possible photo targets. We're doing this based on closing prices of stocks between 2 consecutive days. Independent or self-judging is permitted. The judge, in addition to making a choice, assigns what's called a confidence ranking. The confidence ranking is essentially, in a quantitative sense, it would be what percentage of the descriptors that you write down agree with the target that you choose. But if you add the fact that there's a sketch involved, there's some qualitative features which do come in. Now, the last thing I need to tell you about is our consensus approach. We have 3 options here, and these 3 options now are related to our concept of groups. The idea of using consensus is that nobody's perfect. Well, maybe some of you are perfect, but most people are not perfect. Okay? The idea here would be to have maybe a group of people go after the correct target, and then each of them independently goes after the same target. This is called a single photo group option. And remember, this is a workshop, so hopefully some of you will form groups. I'll show you how to do that. And they independently go after this target, and in the best of all possible worlds, all 3 of them agree, and then you do a group consensus judging, and you go forward with a great deal of confidence. Maybe it's 2 against 1. Also, you need to look at the confidence ranking. That's the first option. The second option permits the same 3 people now, but if they choose the multiple photo group, they say might be worried about telepathic overlay or going for the same target. Here, each of the people would have different targets entirely, and they can do more than one. Since there isn't only one target, they are allowed to do 1, 2, 3, as many as they want to individually. And when you do a group consensus, and I'll show you this in a moment, you will be able to see how each of these are pointing to the stock event. When there was only one target, it was easy to understand the stock event. The fact of the matter is, it's really not much harder to understand. Each of these are randomly associated with the same stock event being up or not up. And so if this were the example, there are actually 6 targets. When you do the group consensus, there'd be 6 possible choices, maybe 5 pointing in one direction, 1 in the other, 4 or 2. Okay. Now we also permit what we call a group of 1. So loners can form their own group. They must do 2 or more photo targets so that you can in fact have a consensus. Now what you see going on right there is part of our simulation. We just simulated the stock motion being up or not up. So if that happens again, you'll every 15 minutes. Okay, next one summarizes all that. That's kind of busy, but I hope you understand that. If not, you'll obviously be able to ask questions, because when we do the workshop, you need to decide which one of these 3 groups you want to be in. Okay, now, just to try to make this group consensus clear, because this is the actual prediction that your group makes. In this example, and we never use, from the standpoint of remote viewing, up or not up for the stock market. We remove the stock market from this completely. Your talent is remote viewing. What you do is you do your remote viewing, you go for describing the photograph, okay? Or you can go to the site if you wish, but the features need to be in the photograph so you can judge it. So we use X or Y, which are randomly associated with this up or not up. And in this case, there were 3 different members. You can see the target ID numbers. There are 3 different target ID numbers, which indicate that this is a multiple photo group. If those 3 target ID numbers were the same, then it would be a single photo group. If there was only one name, then it would just be one person who did 3 targets. So it could be Mary, Mary, Mary. The judge will see this screen, and in this case, you can see there's a Y and an X and an X, and there's a confidence ranking. This was a case where the judge wrote not a clear, confident prediction because there were 2 X's, but the Y is even higher than one of the X's. Could have found an example with 3 X's, but this is an example which happens. You know, it'd be nice if there were all 3 X's and the confidence rankings were all 90, and they were right. But this is the real world, and this is the challenge of associative remote viewing. So this is a screen where the group consensus judging goes on. You would choose, in that case, you can see they chose the X. They put a confidence ranking of 50, and there's a submit button under there. That goes in, and that goes to the computer over the internet. Okay, yeah. Okay, now, what's the difference between what we actually do on the internet versus what we're able to do here in this workshop? The internet, let's just say you're starting on a Monday. You would get your target ID number. You would judge, you would RV the target. So you get the number off the computer. Typically, you go away, you do an RV session, you come back, you put in your RV summary into the computer, you submit it. You then judge, or you have your independent judge your target transcript versus the 2 photos. Then someone in your group needs to judge the group event. All that happens on one day, on Monday. On Tuesday, the stock event actually starts, right? Precognition, you do this on Monday. The close of the market on Tuesday begins to start. That's the start date of the trade. On Wednesday, that's the end date of the trade. Now we know whether or not the stock has moved up or not up. So at that point in time, you go back on the internet for this target ID, you get your target feedback, and you can also do remote influencing. I won't discuss that. You'll get to see a page of that when you get on, but this is a way that you could begin to go back and improve your ability to do this ARVing by just looking at the history, etc. I just don't have time to get into this. There was a CRV workshop about a month ago, and Lynn Buchanan talked about this, and those tapes, in fact, are for sale outside, so you might very well want to buy that. Okay, so in the workshop, the beginning part, of course, is the same. You get your ID number, you do your RV summary, you judge your target, and then you need to judge the event. But then every 15 minutes, every 1/4 of an hour, we have a random number generator that determines up or not up for the motion of the stock, for the group event. So you need to wait until the 1/4 hour is up, and then any time after that, including the next day, you can come back and actually see, during this workshop, your target feedback, and you'll be able to see the remote influencing screen, and you will get feedback. It'll tell you if you're right, it'll tell you if you're wrong. You can do one of these a day, so you can begin to even build up a history. Now, what you do here is just for the workshop. I'll show you how to get on the internet in a moment. Okay, now, I mentioned that we are paying independent contractor fees, and this, in fact, is the schedule. What we have here are, in groups of 10 group predictions, if you get 7 successes out of 10 trials, the IC fee for the group is $250. If you get 8 out of 10, it's $1,000. If you get 9 out of 10, it's $2,000. If you get 10 out of 10, it's $4,000. Now, so far, and this protocol started in April, this is a summary of where we are in terms of success rates. We have 2 groups that are single photo groups. One got less than 7 out of 10. We have 1 8 out of 10 there. We have 3 multiple photo groups, and we have 2 8 out of 10s, and we have 7 groups of 1. And in that case, we have 11 less than 10, but we have 1 7 out of 10, 2 8 out of 10s, and we just recently got our first 10 out of 10. So those of you who care about the statistics, that's just, all of that looks very statistically significant. We actually have only had 3 groups that started. So we've had a total really of 3 groups that started and failed to finish their 10. People really get into this even when they see they may not be doing well. They use it for practice, etc. And overall, out of 16 groups, to get 1 10 out of 10, 5 8 out of 10s is actually quite remarkable. Okay. We're actually, last slide before the workshop, where you can actually do some hands-on work, and we're going to have Angela actually go through an entire session from beginning to end. But I'd like 3 other people to go up. And this is the opening screen. So this is where Protocol 5 starts. Now, in the workshop, in the upper, I should have that pointed, but do you see where it says P5 logon? Once you get to Explorer, on the left there, if you were to click there, this is the screen that would come up. In fact, it's defaulted to come up. So this is the natural screen to come up. You have a username and a password. Well, how do you get that? Okay, here's where it all starts. The first time you go in, you have to register for an account. So the registering for an account, and you'll see an example of that. You'll put in your username, your password, and this is where you come up with a group name. So if there are 3 of you that decide to form a group, you each have to have the same group name. That's how the program knows to group your predictions all together. Now, this is for the remote viewer, the person that does the remote viewing sessions, gets the feedback. What about the judge? Well, the judge is distinguished by, once you've registered, you tell your judge, or if you're self-judging, you know your judge quite well, that when he logs on to this same page, he logs on with username-judge, same password. And so the appropriate judging screens will then come up. Okay, and then finally, if you're going to write down one thing and you're interested in this, this is the URL on the internet, which will bring you to this page. So it's p-i-a.com/capital P is important, capital P5.html. And that'll bring you to this page. If you see the link there, down there at the bottom where it says step-by-step help file for Protocol 5, that will give you a step-by-step series of instructions, which in fact we're going to do now. And I have some sheets which also do that on the table over there. If any of you want to take them with you, sometimes it's helpful to have that with you. Okay, that is the last slide, I believe. Okay, let's hit escape on that. Can you just close that? Use it, yeah, just. Why don't you hit file exit? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Now, this is the workshop opening page. She's set up over there. I'd love 3 volunteers to try to do this in parallel. She's going to go through it all, but it's pretty self-explanatory, and I'd love to guide any of you through this. Good. Go ahead. Okay, wonderful. Yeah? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you had to run over, I guess. But as I say, these will be set up for the next 2 days as well. Okay? Okay, so the first thing to do is to get to this same screen. If there's some other screen up there and it's Explorer, click on the P5 logon on the upper left corner. See where it says P5 logon? If anybody wants to help them, yeah? Yeah, anytime, please. This is a workshop.
I have a background in physics, not psychology, so if I use the wrong words, forgive me. But what I'm understanding is, and from what I'm gathering as you're giving the presentation, this is a form of temporal projection based on the metaphorical referencing of visual cues, so that a group, if they go through this iterative loop X number of times, they may even be below 50% the first time, but theoretically they do it 10 times, 20 times, 30 times over a course of months, they'll keep pushing their percentage higher and higher. So that the collective effort, instead of remote viewing a static target, is in fact remote viewing a target that is yet to occur from our spatiotemporal reference point. Is that reasonable enough?
Yes.
I mean, is that close?
Complicated, but reasonable enough.
Okay.
Okay, one quick one, but I want everybody to see actually what's going on here. No. The photos could be anything. I have a series. We always just pair photos by contrast. There's not positive or negative. I mean, that just happened to be a negative example to make the conflict of a cute cuddly bear and a nuclear explosion, but the contrasts aren't always that large. The fact of the matter is, as a remote viewer, you go into your target ID, you remote view whatever you get, and the judge then looks at that and chooses one of the 2 targets, and nobody along the way knows what's up or not up. It's irrelevant. One of the key things I did is remove that. From now on, you should really ignore that. It's really sort of our job to earn enough to pay your fee, and you just remote view. Okay, Angela, why don't you, it's just for this session, why don't you become a group of 1? Are the 3 of you wanting to be groups of 1, or are you going to be a group of 2? Or you 2 are going to join? Okay, good. So Angela, why don't you start, and yes? Okay, that's fine. Yes, so you have to start with register for an account. So once you all do that, you need to put in your username. Just make up a username, anything simple. Now, we tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. We think it's user-friendly, and yet, people have different levels of different comfort levels, and that's why we do have a step-by-step sort of instruction sheet. But the other thing which we always encourage is lots of questions. And when you get to that first page and you go to the step-by-step, my email address is up there, marty@p-i-a.com. We encourage questions. Okay, and here you can just put AAA, because this isn't going to be perfect. So just put AAA for your first, last name and email. Doesn't have to be real here. Yeah, and just an A. Anything for the last name, anything for the email. But you do have to put something in there. For the workshop, you can just put anything you want. Okay, and then submit. Okay, now we're going to return to the log on screen. Right? Pretty straightforward. Good, thank you. Netscape, Explorer, Lycos, all of them should work. And if they don't, email me, because I'll make sure they do, or we'll make sure they do. Okay, now, okay, so this will just verify that your username and password are in, so go on to login. Okay, now it recognizes that this is the first time Angela is in here. So it says, this is your first login, click here and fill out a form. So this is online, the form is a bit longer. It has what's called a cool down text, warm up text, the kind of things, if you've been to any of the remote viewing classes, will make sense to you. These texts come up during the process to try to get you in the right mental state. Okay, Angela. Here, for the workshop, we've just made it very simple, and we're going right to the group options. Now, it says if you're a group of more than one person, you need to give yourself a group name so that we can organize all of you. So you two need to decide on a name. Angela can ignore that, or you can put it in, but it doesn't matter. And then you want to be a group of one. So notice that we talked about single photo is the first radio button. The second one is the multiple group, and the third one is a group of one. And then you hit submit. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay? That was the log-on process. So the first time you have to fill out that form, and then from then on in you go to the log-on page and you're ready to go. You doing okay over there? Okay. So now let's begin. Okay, this is the welcome page, and this is where the person who's doing the RVing has the three choices that they have available to them. The first time you would obviously do RV the target, but after that, when you come back after the judging, this is where you're going to get your target feedback, and then later we'll look at what RI yourself is and the kind of information that's there, because there's also data there. So let's RV the target. Okay, so this now is the page that you would have when you're RVing. You can see we have a 6-digit target ID number. And now, typically, what a person would do is Angela, whoever's doing this, would write down 387814 and probably go away from the computer, though some people will still do this at the computer, you know, it depends on your style, and do a session. And then the summary would go in there. Now, Angela's doing this quickly because we're going to make an example, but this is where you do your RV session. Now, how far do you go? For Associative Remote Viewing, remember, you only need enough information to distinguish between two photos. So typically, you might go through stage 3. Try to get some sketches, something of that sort. Some people do gut reactions. Everybody's a little different. But with this methodology, you're able to get feedback. We keep a history so you can see what's working and what's not working. So in fact, you can grow. Okay, submit the summary text. The Q is the target ID number. That's the only Q you need. There was on there, though I didn't point it out, we'll point it out next, a tasking statement, which is the only other Q you would get. Typical remote viewers, once they get their target ID,
They start with a sheet of paper. They'll put the target ID number down. Remember how this morning they had you put your name? Oh, okay. You know what, Angela, you need to do a second one so you can get a, so why don't you go back to the welcome page. I'll answer your question. Okay, go ahead, do another one. You see the tasking statement there? Move to the photo target feedback session for target ID 531-900. Describe.
Numerical coordinates.
Yes, we use numerical coordinates. That's it. Except the tasking statement does say, describe those features of the photo feedback which will distinguish it from the other possible photo and allow the correct decision by your judge. So that's the only other cueing we do, and we know some of our people sort of add their own tasking and modify it. And, it's a very individualistic group. Okay, so Angela, as an example, did her second one. You guys, if you want to take a little more time and do a real session, feel free. I've asked Angela to go through this pretty quickly, but you three may want to do a real session. And if you, yeah, okay. Now what I suggest, Angela, is it looks like there are two windows open. Why don't you close, can you close this window? Yeah, close this window. Okay, now go to the P5 login, so you would start again. So now you're coming in and you want to come in as a judge. So Angela's now doing self-judging, and you'll now get to see what a judge sees. So we're going to go through the entire thing here. Now with some luck, we'll have to wait until 15 after until it actualizes, but I think we'll do just that. Okay, so this is the two choices for the judge is to judge the transcript, that's the individual photo target, and the other choice is to judge it from the perspective of the group, and we will do both of those, so you actually get to see all this. Okay, now I doubt if you can read this, but remember her first target, 387814? On the left there are the words she put, blue, green, yellow, white. So the judge gets to see the summary. If there's a transcript which is considered important, you need to fax it if it's an independent judge, or if you're doing it yourself, you obviously have it. Okay, now there are two places. You can either see the targets by clicking on the top, or I put those there because some of the older browsers, the radio buttons don't really work. But generally, everybody's using the radio buttons now. So go down to choice 1. This is the choice 1 for the, this target ID. So she can look at that one. She can look at choice 2. The judge now. Those are the two choices. I can see Angela there looking at what you did. She'll make the decision. She chose choice 2. What confidence ranking would you put? A 55. You know, she's probably... Now, how did you get that, Angela? Were you just guessing here, or did you... Okay. So, half the data agrees. And so she put in about a 50. It looks like a little more than half. She put in 55. Now, the judging summary information, this, remember, is for you. I mean, we're trying to give you tools to increase your ability to do this. We want you to be successful, okay? So any notes you write, these are to you. These are to nobody else but to you. If it's an independent judge, the remote viewer will see this, but these are notes to help you. So you write whatever you think is appropriate that will help you in the future. One of the things which everybody, Joe McConicle in his book and all the other remote viewers say, keep a notebook, because you're always going to want to look back and see what went on. This system keeps a notebook for you. Okay, submit the prediction. And now the second target that she did came up. I can't square clicking angle. Frog. But you can see that they're, you know, we make them different on purpose. So hopefully the judging will be easy. I mean, here you have a life form, the other one was a building. We look for at least major gestalts that are different. Sometimes somebody comes back and say, hey, these features are the same. Yes, we're not perfect. You know, we're all doing this together. Okay. How you guys doing over there? Okay, that's good. Okay, so Angela, as you can see, is putting in her text. So this is the equivalent of what is done on a Monday. We believe feedback is very important, and in about a minute, we should see the screen go dark, and that will simulate the stock trading, and then we'll go to the feedback page, so you get to see that. But yes, we believe feedback is critical, because think about what you're doing. What you're doing is, at your remote viewing time, you're actually connecting to the feedback time. That is the way to think about it. Others have talked about it in just that same fashion. You know, that's kind of the working model. You know, everything is happening now, or you can go there and connect, that kind of model. When you're viewing, what we believe is when you say move to your feedback session, your subconscious now has the information. It knows what that target is. It's moved to that session. We kind of give the subconscious almost infinite powers of gathering information. So it knows the target. Now the trick is to get that information about the feedback target that your subconscious has seen and pass it on to the conscious mind and write it down on paper. Stock market has nothing to do with this from your perspective, nothing. We hope the remote viewer is looking only at the photograph that she will be shown at feedback time. It's the association with the stock market. You can ignore that because you will always be shown the correct photo. If the market goes up, you'll be shown the photo that's associated with that. If the market goes down, you'll be shown the photo that's associated with that. You will always be shown the correct photo. That's why you only have to describe the photo that you'll see at feedback time, because you will always be shown the correct photo. On Monday, when you make your prediction, and let's say your group says it's all Ys, and so your group prediction is a Y, and the group confidence level is 90%, and you're a group with a good history. On Monday, I know that that Y is associated, say, with the market going down on Monday for the stock changing between Tuesday and Wednesday. So on Tuesday, I can enter a trade, computer. And the association of random up and down is all done by the computer. So literally nobody knows, including we even get the change in stock prices is done automatically by computer. Okay, I think I'm glad you asked that, because the next step, Angela, did anybody see the screen go dark? Okay, let's now go in. The association, the consciousness association that you're talking about happens at feedback time. That is the critical time, because it's at feedback time, which Angela is now, you know what you can do? You can again go to the login page. Right, and just log in now under your regular name. We're now about to find out which of the two choices that the judge made, well, not the judge, we're going to find out what the correct feedback is. The photo that we're about to see. Okay, so now we'll go to target feedback. Oh, that's not good. Oh, I hate computers. I love computers. What you should do, that's a good question. You did see the screen go black. Okay, well, I'm going to go over there and check, but let me answer your question. What you would see here now is the target ID number, the one that was randomly chosen by a computer, and under it is the actual photograph. That's the association. And so you, as the remote viewer, are connecting up that consciousness now. Okay? This is very disappointing. Yeah. No, right now we're doing it between 2 consecutive days, and we're actually trading options on the stock.
Hey, we did.
You did everything right.
We
How
got
far
the
did you get?
dolphin. Well, we both got the dolphin. And
And you got feedback and everything?
yeah.
They got feedback.
Oh, no, we didn't get feedback. No.
Oh, you didn't do the feedback yet. Okay,
Oh,
let me.
yeah, we did do the feedback because we got the picture, remember?
Oh, you did the. Oh, that was the judging.
So now we need feedback.
Okay, let me.
Okay, target feedback.
No, that was just submitting your target.
You got the same thing. Okay, I tell you what I'm going to try. Did I close all this? Okay, let me try this.
Isn't this exciting or what? This is pretty cool. Who here knows about things like computers and such like that might be able to help them out? We got a lot of people over there, and I'm sure the collective brain power on how to do proper computing skills is rather low. That's just me. That's just my guess.
Let me just. I want to make sure it works myself.
Yeah, too many hands in the pot, too many brain pans in the skillet or something. I don't know.
You did see it go. Then I don't know what's
You
going
know,
on.
that is a thought about the effect of too many thought processes associated with the computer operations will affect the operation of the computer.
Would you try? Okay, I don't know if.
I'll take this as a moment just to remind everybody, we crank up again tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning.
Real time.
That is 8:30, that's 0830 for you military types. That's 8:30 a.m. for you civilian types. And I'm not going to talk about Mickey and the big hand and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm just not going to be able to do this in real time. I apologize. Online, believe it or not, this rarely happens. It does happen sometimes. We're working with real life here, so you got to see one of the real life problems, I'm afraid. You have to have at least 2 group members to do it, to submit a group consensus prediction. But if only one does it, then you're stuck. So you do have to cooperate. You have to be a cooperative group. Yes, we have groups that are very widely spread out.
And does this cost anything to
What?
log on? Does this cost anything to log on for the
No.
person? No, it's totally free, right?
This is free.
It's priceless. The experience is priceless.
Well, one of the concepts is to look at the words and the descriptors and to take the percentage of the descriptors that are correct for the target that you chose. And then some people use a bit of intuition also.
So 10 trials, is that 10 weeks?
No, you can do a trial a day. So, I mean, you know, the one you do on Monday doesn't get actualized. You don't see the feedback until Wednesday, but you can start another one on Tuesday, and that'll come back on Thursday. Ones you do on Friday, you forget weekends because it's trading days, but you can do one on Friday. That gets actualized because the trades are changed are between Monday and Tuesday. So you can do one every day of the week, and so at the end of 2 weeks, you can finish your 10 trials.
I wonder if you notice, over here, over here.
Okay.
I wonder if you notice a difference when you're sort of doing the practice runs and you're building, you're training, teaching it and so on. Is there a difference in success from that to the point when you actually start putting money on the table and then money's at stake? You know, the stress factor and perhaps emotional overlay that may come with that. I don't know if you've investigated that part of it, but
You're talking
would that
about it
make
from the
any
standpoint of the remote viewer. Notice they never put money on the table. They're the lunky ones.
difference? If you're doing your
PIA,
own, so if you're doing your own, for example, if people are thinking about doing this and investing in the stock market and remote viewing their own targets and so on, that could be a problem. The ideal way, I think, is to have an objective person who has no stake in it whatsoever doing the RV, right?
and that's this whole approach.
Which is what this is, right?
That's exactly what this approach is, because you don't put up anything, you've got no money at stake. We just do everything we can to encourage you to be very good. We're going to do what? Commodities. Maybe, some indices.
Just to finish my earlier
4
announcement,
minutes.
8:30.
So you can try
Be
it
in
again.
here a little bit early so we can start on time.
Okay.
Will that be it?
Yeah, so it's work, we're here, let's just keep talking. Go ahead.
All right, I guess that wraps it up. If you want to stay and continue talking, go ahead. But thank you for your attention. Away, Cleveland!